Hello, my name is Jonathon L and my research topic was on media and romance films' effect on relationships. And to begin with, basically I went into detail not only about romantic films, but I also went into cell phone usage, mixed in, and how they all combine together and really affect a romantic relationship. So to start off, I really want to go in depth and kind of give a brief summary before I go into it. So in today's world, we rely on media and social events to get through hard situations, love, and life in general. How much of this really affects how much does media and romantic films have effect on our relationships? In my paper, I end up talking about how romantic films and social media have a control on our relationships and how they really affect our lives in a certain way. Media has taken us to a new level in our relationships. It used to be you could call someone's house, but you didn't always have to, and now it's basically you're constantly on your phone 24/7, texting, all that. Mainly, we would not know what to do without media anymore, as well as cell phones. We are so ingrained in media, and we look to it as a guide, almost to get through life nowadays, and we're attached to our cell phones. In the study that I did, I ended up talking about the history of social media, as well as the effects it has on our relationship, and also about how it changes the world as we know it. So to start off with, I want to talk about how, as humans, we look to media to really shape our relationships. That would go to my next slide, first slide. So basically, this is how media affects us. So a brief summary, I did how cell phone use, media watch, celebrities, and movie stars are all main things that really affect our lives nowadays. Especially at a young age, we really look to movie stars and celebrities to kind of build what we think we should be as adults and how we should look at ourselves, how we should present ourselves. And that's where media and cell phone use gets really involved, because we look obviously on our cell phones to look up the media, and then media such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, that's what really starts affecting us. So mainly what I started talking about was knowing the specifics and going into young adults. And this leads to my research question about my whole paper. So the research question I had was, how does media, specifically romantic films and television shows, affect real life romantic relationships, as well as does cell phone use play a key role? I originally was just doing romantic movies and films just to see how it was, but as I was doing my research, I found a lot of articles it intertwined with cell phone use, so I felt that it was necessary to put cell phone use into my research topic. That was the young adults one as well. This is going also relating to my research question, just going a little more in depth for it. And the main goal that I wanted to do is I really wanted to understand more about romantic relationships and how media can either make or break a relationship. I found it interesting that we kind of have a preconceived notion about relationships and how they should go based on what we see in the media. It's not even that we experience relationships or we experience different types of relationships that we've been in, it's more that we look to the media to see how we should act. So this kind of refers to looking into romantic films, and you see a guy being very romantic, candlelit dinner, but then you don't have that in your relationship, and that's what really kind of drives you nuts, and you're like, why don't I have this? And that's what really starts affecting your relationship. You start comparing it to romantic films. And I think it's really important nowadays to look into this type of study because nowadays you hear so many different things happening about divorce and breakup. And I truly think that it's related to romantic films. I feel that we look to it as a guide for our love lives, and we see how it really affects us, and we'll see all the different romantic acts, like I said before. And if our significant other isn't performing that, we almost feel like we're not being loved. I want to relate this to television, too. It's more of like an attraction nowadays, and it's a lot of times one of my articles speak about primetime television, how it affects us. People tend to watch the shows. It may be a reality show, but in regards, it's really not a reality. It's not how real life goes. People get preconceived notions from that. As well as my next slide, I'm going into control and conflict. I found a research topic by the author named Aubrey. It was talking about how, like, when we fight, we bicker, and this goes back to romantic films. We see all this happening, and she related the romantic films to her real life relationship, how she herself was looking into movies too much because she was comparing it so much to her own relationship. After that, we're going to go into fantasy. Basically, what I really looked into this was everyone in the world has their fantasy. They have their love life planned out before they even find somebody, and they have that preconceived notion. But in reality, life is not a fantasy. And I actually found a really interesting article about Egyptian women, and it spoke about how they watch romantic films and television, and they end up having more of an attitude and feelings similar to the Western culture. So they started watching these different acts, and they started to really get into it, and they started, in the Egyptian culture, they aren't supposed to necessarily fall in love specifically with anybody. They're more like chosen. So when watching those romantic films, they end up getting that notion that they can love whoever they want and they can find men like this, and it kind of disturbed their culture a little bit, and I thought that was interesting to speak about that. And then we're doing cell phone use, so this was the big part about my article. I ended up comparing two of my articles. One was titled Mobile Communication in Romantic Relationships and Mobile Use, Uncertainty, Love, Commitment, Attachment, as well as another article. It is the effect of cell phone usage rules on satisfaction of a romantic relationship. And these two were really interesting because they were very similar but very opposite. So they compared love lives and how different concerns are brought up with your relationship. And this goes into the methods part of my research that I did. So basically, my methods, I did 3 different ones. I did design, my participants, and my data analysis. So the way I designed it, I used Qualtrics that we all use in the classroom. I laid it out with about 10 to 12 questions, just kind of putting it all out there, asking certain ones. I ended up getting 100 participants. Mostly they were in ages from 18 to 26, and the majority, about 70%, were white, and I had about 20% African American, and then the rest were others. And then my data analysis, I did the number of surveys and how to get back to my participants if they wanted the research done. And then my results. So what I found really interesting, I compared to my results, I had 2 questions that I ended up doing, and one was relating to when you watch a romantic film, do you wish you were in the film? And the other question was, when you're watching the film, do you compare it to your relationship? And the majority of people that answered for the first one, if they want to be in the film, yes. They answered the second one, yes, as well. So I thought that was interesting as a very significant number of people that said yes for both. And it really compared how they truly feel about the relationship and how they compare it to other things. So these were the 2 questions that I asked. These are the answers for them. These are the different percentages that happen that come up. So in conclusion for my studies, I really wanted to say that looking into it, especially using Qualtrics, I found that a lot of people did admit that they do compare their relationship to media, and they truly think that romantic films affect the way we look at our relationships, and as well as cell phone use. Cell phone use can either make or break a relationship. And for my studies, specifically, I know it is a very small number, only 100 people, but from that little study, I could most likely say that I truly think that romantic films and cell phone use do affect our relationship. Thank you.